In the days leading up to his death, a Predator surveillance drone flew at 20,000 feet above Jalisco, gathering intelligence on the cartel, hunting for El Mencho. Then, a breakthrough. Mexican intelligence officials located El Mencho's girlfriend. They tracked her to a location in central Jalisco. And that's where they got El Mencho's precise location. The Predator drone, which was used in the early 2000s to target militants in Iraq and Afghanistan, hovered non-stop above the location, tracking Mencho's activities. And then, Sunday, the 22nd of February, morning, an Army helicopter dropped Mexican special forces near El Mencho's hideout. When they zeroed in on El Mencho's home, a firefight ensued. Mencho had a small, tight security team with him. He had a host of military-grade weapons, including 2 anti-tank rocket launchers with him. But he was no match for the Army's air assault. The Special Forces killed 8 gunmen as they rushed Oseguera's home early Sunday morning. He fled into the woods with 2 members of his security team. Special Forces found El Mencho hiding in undergrowth, badly wounded along with 2 of his team. An Army extraction team landed in a helicopter, picked up El Mencho and his 2 guards. What happened next revealed the true nature of the organization he had built. Within hours, coordinated roadblocks appeared across multiple states. Dozens of vehicles were set on fire. Burning barricades blocked highways. Airports were attacked. Tourists were told to shelter in place. This wasn't a criminal organization responding to a threat. This was an army. But for you to understand why such force was needed to capture El Mencho, let's go back to the beginning. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was born on July 17, 1966, in Arajon de Chile, a dusty mountain village in Michoacán Tierra Caliente region, the hot land. He was one of 6 brothers in a family of poor avocado farmers. At age 11, he dropped out of school to work in the fields. By his early teens, he was guarding marijuana crops. He would spend decades climbing through the criminal underworld, from drug dealer to hitman to regional boss. In 2009, he founded the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. What began as a small faction would become Mexico's most powerful criminal organization. But on February 22, 2026, after nearly 2 decades of evasion, El Mencho was killed in a military operation. He was 59 years old. Yet his legacy remains. The organization he built, the CJNG, is unlike any cartel that came before it. It's not merely a drug trafficking organization. It's a militarized force, an army. And this is the story of how one man transformed organized crime into warfare. For decades, Mexican drug cartels operated like traditional criminal enterprises. They trafficked drugs, they used violence to maintain control, but they were fundamentally criminal organizations, not military forces. El Mencho changed that. Under his leadership, the CJNG evolved into something unprecedented. A criminal organization with military structure, military tactics, and military capabilities. The CJNG operates with a hierarchical command structure. El Mencho sits at the top. Below him is a small circle of senior lieutenants, his board of directors. Then regional commanders who oversee specific territories. And finally, semi-autonomous cells that operate under the CJNG brand. But what distinguishes the CJNG is its specialized armed wing, Grupo Elite. This is not a security detail. This is a military unit. Grupo Elite operates with a chain of command structure. They conduct coordinated operations. They employ military tactics. They are trained, disciplined, and equipped like soldiers. And they are heavily armed. The weapons seized from CJNG operations read like a military inventory. high-caliber rifles, automatic weapons, explosives, grenades, rocket-propelled grenades, armor-piercing ammunition. The Barrett 50 caliber rifle, for example, is a weapon designed for military use. It can penetrate armor. It can hit targets from over a mile away. The CJNG has dozens of them. But the CJNG's arsenal extends beyond traditional firearms. They have access to military-grade explosives. They've constructed improvised explosive devices. And they've acquired something that most criminal organizations don't have: drones. These are not surveillance drones. These are weaponized drones, modified to carry and deploy explosives. The CJNG has used them to attack Mexican military and police positions. In 2020, the CJNG used drones to drop explosives on law enforcement positions. This was not a first. They had been experimenting with drone technology for years, but it represented a significant escalation: the use of aerial weapons by a criminal organization. The CJNG also operates armored vehicles they call monsteros, or monsters. These are civilian vehicles that have been heavily modified with armor plating, reinforced frames, and gun ports. They're designed to withstand gunfire and allow occupants to fire weapons from protected positions. These vehicles are not purchased from legitimate manufacturers. They're built in clandestine workshops, often by former military engineers who have been recruited by the cartel. Each one costs tens of thousands of dollars to construct. The CJNG operates dozens of these vehicles. They use them for transportation, for protection, and for combat operations. What distinguishes the CJNG from other cartels is the quality of their personnel. They actively recruit former military members. They recruit people with tactical training, with weapons expertise, with leadership experience. These are not street thugs. These are trained soldiers. The CJNG's recruitment strategy is sophisticated. They target former military personnel, soldiers who have been discharged or who are dissatisfied with military pay. They offer salaries that far exceed what the Mexican military pays. A CJNG soldier can earn $500 to $1,000 per month, compared to $300 to $400 in the Mexican military. But it's not just money. The CJNG offers advancement opportunities, respect, and power. For a young man from a poor background, the cartel can offer what legitimate society cannot. The CJNG has created a military-style organization within a criminal enterprise. They have officers, they have enlisted men, they have specialized units. It's a parallel military structure. The CJNG's command structure includes specialized units. There are units dedicated to drug trafficking, units dedicated to money laundering, units dedicated to security, and units dedicated to combat operations. This level of organization is unprecedented in the history of Mexican drug cartels. It represents a fundamental shift from criminal enterprise to military organization. Furthermore, the cartel operates training camps in remote areas of Mexico, where new recruits undergo intensive instruction in weapons handling, tactical operations, and combat procedures. These training programs are rigorous. Recruits learn how to use military weapons. They learn tactical formations. They learn how to conduct ambushes, how to defend positions, and how to coordinate with other units. The CJNG's training program is comparable to military training programs. They have instructors who are former military officers. They have curriculum. They have standards. They produce soldiers, not just gunmen. The CJNG also maintains discipline. Members who violate orders are punished. Members who betray the organization are executed. This level of discipline is essential for maintaining a military-style organization. The result is an organization capable of conducting coordinated military operations, not random violence, not street-level gang activity, coordinated, planned, executed military operations. May 1st, 2015, the Mexican government launched Operation Jalisco, a military campaign designed to capture El Mencho and dismantle the CJNG. Intelligence reports indicated that El Mencho was in the town of Tonaya. Military forces moved to the area. What happened next shocked Mexico. As security forces approached El Mencho's position, they came under fire, not from small arms, from military-grade weapons, from coordinated positions, from a force that was organized and disciplined. During the firefight, a Mexican military helicopter was shot down. 7 soldiers were killed. The helicopter was brought down by a rocket-propelled grenade, a weapon typically used in military combat, not criminal violence. This was not an accident. This was not a lucky shot. This was a coordinated attack on a military asset by a criminal organization, and it succeeded. The shooting down of that helicopter was a watershed moment. It demonstrated that the CJNG had the capability, the training, and the weapons to engage military forces on equal terms. It was a message. We are not just criminals. We are a military force. The CJNG had acquired rocket-propelled grenades, weapons designed for military use. They had trained personnel to use them, and they had demonstrated the will to use them against Mexican military forces. This would not be the last time the CJNG shot down a military helicopter. In fact, the incident in 2015 was only the first of several such attacks. The CJNG had proven that it could challenge Mexican military superiority in the air. June 2020, Mexico City, the capital of Mexico, the heart of government power. A convoy carrying the head of Mexico City's police force came under attack. The attack was coordinated. Multiple gunmen, high-powered rifles, grenades. The assault lasted several minutes. Dozens of rounds were fired. The target was Omar Garcia Harfuch, the newly appointed head of Mexico City's police force. Garcia Harfuch survived the attack, but barely. His security detail was wounded. The message was clear. The CJNG could strike anywhere, even in the capital, even against high-ranking government officials. This attack demonstrated the CJNG's reach and capability. They could conduct a sophisticated military operation in the heart of Mexico City. They had intelligence about the target's movements. They had coordinated personnel. They had weapons. And they had the will to execute the operation. The attack was not random. It was planned. It was coordinated. It was executed with military precision. And it sent a message to the Mexican government. The CJNG is not just a criminal organization. It's a military force capable of striking anywhere, anytime. But the CJNG's military operations are not limited to direct attacks. They've also developed sophisticated tactics for disrupting government operations and protecting their leadership. August 2012, Guadalajara. Mexican security forces launched an operation against the CJNG. Their target, El Mencho himself. As security forces moved through the city, they encountered something unprecedented. Dozens of vehicles had been set on fire and placed across major highways and thoroughfares. The burning vehicles created roadblocks that prevented police and military movement. This was not a spontaneous response. This was a coordinated tactic. The Jalisco Cartel had positioned vehicles in advance. They had set them on fire in a coordinated manner. They had created a barrier that effectively paralyzed the city's transportation network. The roadblock tactic is brilliant from a military perspective. It accomplishes multiple objectives. It slows down police and military response. It gives cartel members time to escape. It demonstrates the cartel's power and reach, and it terrorizes the civilian population. The roadblocks worked. While security forces were delayed trying to navigate around the burning vehicles, El Mencho escaped. The operation failed. This tactic would be used repeatedly over the years. In 2015, during Operation Jalisco, the CJNG used roadblocks to disrupt military operations. And in February 2026, when Mexican forces finally killed El Mencho, the cartel immediately deployed roadblocks across multiple states. Within hours of El Mencho's death, coordinated roadblocks appeared. Dozens of vehicles were set on fire. Highways were blocked. Airports were attacked. The message was clear. The CJNG was responding to the death of its leader with coordinated military action. The roadblock response to El Mencho's death demonstrated the CJNG's organizational capability. This was not spontaneous violence. This was coordinated action across multiple states, executed simultaneously. It required planning, communication, and discipline. It was a military operation. In recent years, the CJNG has escalated its military tactics even further. They've begun installing mines, improvised explosive devices, in territories they control. These are not military-grade mines. They are improvised devices, often made from materials that can be purchased commercially. But they are effective. They can kill or seriously injure anyone who triggers them. The use of mines by a criminal organization is extremely concerning. Mines are typically used in military conflicts, not by criminal organizations. The fact that the CJNG is using them demonstrates how far they've evolved toward a military model. In 2022, Mexican military forces discovered landmines planted by the CJNG in the town of Naranjo de Chile, El Mencho's birthplace. The mines killed one person and injured others. They were placed strategically to prevent military access to the area. The use of mines serves multiple purposes. It denies territory to government forces. It protects cartel strongholds, and it terrorizes the civilian population. It's a tactic typically associated with military conflicts, not criminal organizations. The CJNG had also developed sophisticated drone operations. They used drones for surveillance, for reconnaissance, and for attack. In 2020, the CJNG used drones to drop explosives on law enforcement positions. This was a first for a Mexican criminal organization. It represented a significant technological escalation. The drones used by the CJNG are often commercial drones that have been modified to carry explosives. They are relatively inexpensive, a few $1,000s each, but they are effective. They can deliver explosives to targets that would be difficult to reach by other means. The CJNG's use of drones is significant because it demonstrates their ability to adapt and innovate. They take commercial technology and weaponize it. They're not constrained by traditional military doctrine. They're willing to experiment and try new tactics. The CJNG's organizational structure is fundamentally different from traditional cartels. It's hierarchical, it's centralized, it's military in nature. At the top is El Mencho, the supreme leader. Below him is a small circle of senior lieutenants. These are his most trusted advisors. They include individuals like L85, Eric Valencia Salazar, Lagara, Jorge Luis Mendoza Cardenas, and others who have been with El Mencho since the early days of the CJNG. These senior lieutenants oversee specific functions. One might oversee drug trafficking operations. Another might oversee money laundering. Another might oversee security and military operations. Below the senior lieutenants are regional commanders. These individuals oversee CJNG's operations in specific geographic areas. The CJNG has presence in at least 27 of Mexico's 32 states, so there are dozens of regional commanders. Each regional commander oversees multiple plaza bosses, individuals who control specific cities or regions within the commander's territory. The plaza bosses oversee the day-to-day criminal operations, drug trafficking, extortion, money laundering. Below the plaza bosses are the street-level operatives, the soldiers who conduct the actual criminal activities. They are organized into cells, each with a leader and a specific function. The CJNG structure is fundamentally different from the Sinaloa cartel. The Sinaloa cartel is more decentralized. It allows regional bosses to operate semi-independently. The CJNG is centralized. All power flows through El Mencho. All decisions are made at the top. This creates a more unified organization. but it also creates a vulnerability. If the top leadership is removed, the organization can collapse. Within the CJNG's overall structure, there are specialized units designed for specific functions. These units operate with military precision. The first is the trafficking unit. This unit is responsible for producing, transporting, and distributing drugs. They operate clandestine laboratories. They manage supply chains. They coordinate with international suppliers and distributors. The second is the security unit. This unit is responsible for protecting CJNG leadership, protecting drug shipments, and protecting territory. They conduct surveillance. They provide armed protection. They respond to threats. The third is the money laundering unit. This unit is responsible for converting drug proceeds into legitimate appearing money. They operate businesses. They conduct financial transactions. They move money through international banking systems. The fourth, and most significant for our purposes, is the military unit, Grupo Elite. This unit is responsible for conducting military operations. They conduct attacks on government forces. They defend CJNG territory. They conduct offensive operations against rival cartels. Grupo Elite is the CJNG's most elite unit. Members are carefully selected. They receive intensive training. They're equipped with the best weapons, and they're led by experienced military officers. Grupo Elite is essentially a special forces unit. They are trained in advanced tactics. They are equipped with military weapons. They operate with military discipline. And in many ways, they are more professional than some military units. A military organization requires sophisticated intelligence and communication systems. The CJNG has developed both. The cartel uses encrypted communication devices to coordinate operations. They use encrypted messaging applications. They use secure radio systems. They maintain operational security protocols. The cartel's communication security is sophisticated. They use encryption. They use multiple communication channels. They change their methods regularly. They're aware of law enforcement surveillance, and they take steps to avoid it. The CJNG also maintains an intelligence network. They have informants within government agencies. They have informants within rival cartels. They have informants within communities they control. This intelligence network allows the cartel to anticipate government operations. It allows them to identify threats. It allows them to maintain operational security. The CJNG's intelligence capability is one of their greatest strengths. They know what we're doing before we do it. They have people inside government agencies. They have people inside the military. They have people inside local police departments. This gives them a significant advantage. Corruption is a key component of the CJNG's intelligence network. The cartel pays government officials, military officers, and police to provide information. This corruption extends from local police departments all the way to federal agencies. The CJNG's corruption strategy is systematic. They identify vulnerable officials. They approach them with offers of money. They gradually increase the payments and the demands. Over time, the official becomes dependent on the cartel's money and becomes a reliable source of information. The result is an organization with sophisticated intelligence capabilities, secure communication systems, and deep penetration of government institutions. This is not a criminal organization. This is a military force with intelligence and counterintelligence capabilities. But now, with El Mencho's death, the CJNG faces a succession struggle. Multiple individuals are vying for leadership. The organization may fragment, or it may consolidate under new leadership. But regardless of who leads the CJNG, the organization's military structure will likely remain. The CJNG has demonstrated that militarization is effective. Other cartels are likely to follow the same model. The militarization of organized crime represents a fundamental shift in the nature of criminal organizations. It's no longer sufficient to think of cartels as criminal enterprises. They must be understood as military forces and they must be combated accordingly. El Mencho rose from poverty to become the world's most powerful drug lord. He built an organization that was not merely criminal, it was military. He equipped it with military weapons. He trained it with military discipline. He organized it with military structure. On February 22, 2026, Mexican military forces killed El Mencho. But his legacy remains. The CJNG continues. The militarization of organized crime continues. And the challenge facing Mexico, the United States, and the international community continues. The question is not whether the CJNG will survive El Mencho's death. The question is whether governments can adapt to the reality that organized crime has evolved into military conflict, and whether they can develop strategies to combat an enemy that operates with military precision, military discipline, and military capability. This is the story of how one man transformed organized crime into warfare, and how that transformation continues to reshape the landscape of crime and conflict in Mexico and beyond.